All right, Mr. G here. We are going to follow up on our previous lesson, the Art of the Cantus, lesson 2A, where we built our first cantus. In this one, we're going to build a second cantus in the same key, using the same starting and stopping points, but I'm going to make a different choice in the last note, and you're going to see how that choice I make causes me to write a completely different melody. And you'll hear both melodies. And then in lesson 2C, I'm going to start harmonizing both of these cantuses, so you can see the process and understand the process of writing a first species counterpoint. And once that is done, then I will do what I call connecting the dots. And we'll start turning this into a little piece of classical music that you would expect to be here played by a string trio. Eventually, when we're done, we're going to have three parts. We have a string trio here. So this would be the cantus I've decided to put in the first violin part, and we're going to write the counterpoint in what will be the, I think we'll write it in the viola part. And then we will add the third voice into the second violin, or cello. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. So anyway, here's the video. We're going to go through, and it's going to be a much faster and much shorter video than the first one because you've already seen the rules. I'm just going to be doing the same thing, and I'll be speaking my way through it as I do it. So it should be pretty self-explanatory. All right, Mr. G out. All right, Mr. G here. We're going to modify these series notes. I got 9 notes here. We're going to do another cantus in the key of C. Only this time I'm going to make different choices. Before, I ended with a D. Let me turn this up all the way. D to C. I'm going to start off by making my choice different here. Instead of B to C, D to C, that note, it moves down to B to C. So we're going to have a ba, ba. You'll hear this all better here in a second. Now, the next to the last note, it can be anywhere from a third above to a third below. It can be anywhere. I could step up here from A to B to C. I could be B to B to C. Don't really want to do that. C, B, C, that's kind of lame. I could do this. So, but I'm going to go, I think I'll do here. D, B, C. No, you know what? Let's do something. I'm going to do here. I'm going to G, B, C. Now, this is a skip, right? From G to B. So normally, I don't want to skip before this G, skip into this G. I need to step into it. So that means really my note's going to be A, G, or F. Well, I like A. Let's do A, G to F. Now, this note here, I stepped, right? I can step or I can skip from anywhere. Let's make this, I like going to it. Let's make this a big skip from F to A. That gives me my apex right here, F, like we talked about in the previous lesson. All right, I can't skip into this note because I'm skipping as a big skip afterwards from F down to A, right? F to A is a big skip. So what I'll do is I can step, which means I can go from here, I can do 2 Fs, or I can do a G. I like E to F. It's a half step, kind of pulls you in that direction. And now this means, what do I do with this note? Well, since I stepped from E to F, I can skip into it from a C or a G. That's how I always that. I can leave it the same, or I can come from a D. You see what happens here? If you've already skipped, you can't do 2 skips. This piece will pretty much write itself. So I'm just going to make a quick call. I'm just going to step into it. D to E to F. Now, between, if I did, I'm stepping, I can skip into the D from this note to D. So I could either come at it from a high G, which I don't want to do because that means the apex is almost at the beginning. I kind of like the fact that my highest note is the 5th note in that F, so let's not do that. And I don't want to do F again because, again, C skipping up to an F down to D, really can't do that. So, but I could do this, C to E to D to E, or I could go C to B. B to D is a skip of a third. Remember our rules for skipping a third. If you skip a third, you can step in the same direction if you want. So, that being the deal, let's now listen to what this new Cantus sounds like. Okay, now let's take a look. Here are the two melodies. The one on the left is what we just did, and the one on the right is what we did in Lesson 2A. Let's have a listen real quick. I'm using the computer speakers, so the fidelity won't be that amazing. I'll have a better recorded version when we go into Lesson 2C, where we start harmonizing these things. But here we go. Now the first melody. All right, in the next step, Lesson 2C, we're going to add a first species counterpoint part into second voice. Basically, that means that there's going to be a note-to-note correspondence in all whole notes like we did here. And there are a few more things to think about when you start adding a second voice, because now you have to take into consideration the vertical relationship between notes, and we're going to talk about that in the next lesson. But I want you to know that this is going to be the skeleton of which we are going to turn into a piece of classical sounding music, and it's going to sound really, really pretty. When we're done, there's going to be a string trio. We're going to have 3 voices. There'll be a string trio, and I think you'll be amazed when you see what this sounds like at the end of the process. Anyway, next lesson, Cantus, the art of the Cantus 2C, we're going to introduce you to the counterpoint part. All right? Mr. G out.